Can you please give us a small introduction to yourself and how you got into writing?
Yeah, I can. Hi, my name's Liz Cain. I write urban fantasy as a solo author at the moment. I got into writing because a friend of mine who I was beta reading for, she was really struggling to write her series, and I ended up writing a few chapters just to get her started, and she loved them so much she asked me to co-write with her.
Oh, that's
So we
amazing.
co-wrote some PNR books and some romantasy together. And we kind of tried to do our own little publishing thing and help other indie authors. But eventually, basically, it just got a bit too much to juggle for her. And she wanted to go on to another project. And I wanted to do my own writing
Yeah.
instead of kind of it not wasn't a problem kind of having to follow somebody else's plan, but it was nice to kind of have the freedom to do everything
Yes.
myself. So I started publishing myself last June. It was my first release, so it's just been my 1 year authorversary by myself, and now I write
Congratulations.
urban fantasy. So yeah,
That's so exciting, especially being on your own timeline now with you just having a baby, which congratulations, by the way.
thank you. Yeah, she's a month old tomorrow, which is
Wow.
scary. That's gone so fast.
Yes, I can imagine. I bet it's just quite chaotic and busy, but amazing at the same time.
Yeah, I think it'll be all change again because my husband goes back to work tomorrow.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it'll just be complete change, new routines. But I'm hoping once he goes to work and we're in a daily routine that I
Yeah.
can start writing again, which will be really good.
How, so at the moment, is it no writing? Are you hoping to try bring that into your routine somehow?
I managed to release the last book I wanted to release in April, and I knew that I wanted May off because that was the month
Yeah.
she was due. And then the plan was when Johnny went back to work, my husband, was to start writing again and hopefully release another series later this year. That's hopefully what's going to happen. But I can imagine with a newborn, life never does what you want
No,
it to.
throws you curveballs, definitely.
Yeah.
But how exciting though, what an amazing curveball that is.
Yeah, I mean it's been a long journey for us. It's taken about 5 years and 2 rounds of
Really.
IVF. But yeah, we got our little miracle in the end.
Miracle baby now. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so what drew you to your current genre or style?
Well, I've always loved fantasy. My parents gave me the Narnia books and Lord of the Rings when I
Oh,
was
Lord of the
about
Rings.
really young. I tried Lord of the Rings at the age of 5, and it was obviously not for me at that point. I think I tried again when I was 8. My dad was desperate for me to get into the Lord of the Rings, but eventually I got into them as well. But I have always loved fantasy and read a lot of high fantasy, but as I got older, I kind of got a bit more into romance in my 20s. So I like a romance aspect, but I prefer a bit more fade to black and closed door, and I prefer
Yeah.
a lot more focus on the plot and having like a really good action packed story because I really like action films as well. I kind of wanted to do a cross between fantasy, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like rock star, strong female characters, and just build my own worlds. And I love like putting my own twists on myths and fairy tales as
Yes.
well. So kind of just do that kind of thing.
A lot
I,
of
I
amazing elements coming into it then.
yeah, and I love having loads of different fantasy beings and some of the lesser known. Like my main series that I released last year, Dealer's Choice, is a siren as the main FMC instead of having like a vampire or something typical. It was nice exploring a different kind of creature.
What I love about fantasy, and I'm sure you do as well, is how there's so many different myths and creatures, but you
God,
can
yeah.
put your own twist on however you want. Like for vampires, for example, Twilight is so different to Vampire Diaries. It is so
Yeah,
vast and different, and I think that's amazing that you can take that mythical creature but make it completely your own.
yeah, exactly. And I love the versatility, and all my books are very character driven. I like to plot, but I find it's a bit of a waste of time because I start plotting, and by about chapter 2, all my characters are off doing something completely different. And I'm like, oh, well, that goes out the window.
Yeah, I have asked a few authors if you've found where you're in a complete trance whilst writing, and then you come out of it and like, what just happened? Why did the
Oh,
character
yeah.
do that? I did not intend for that to happen.
Oh, yeah, the amount of times people say to me, oh, I didn't see that twist coming. And I'm like, me neither.
If you didn't see it, great, because I didn't either.
Exactly. It is crazy though, because I'll be working on something and I'll get to the end of a book. And then suddenly, I love that aha moment where something that I wrote right at the beginning of the series, either 2 books ago or even the beginning of the book, suddenly makes sense. And it's like subconsciously my brain must have been building up to that. It
Yeah.
just didn't tell me. And then I get to the end of the series and I'm like, oh, right, so this is how it's going to end. And that's why this happened at the beginning. Wow, that's so cool.
That is so interesting to hear because, like, as a reader, that's like why we love it. It makes it such a fun reading experience. But I guess as a writer, for you to have that as well is quite brilliant. As
Yeah.
that's quite funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I recently reread one of the books I wrote with Anne, my co-author, a couple of years ago. 2021, I think we wrote our first book together. And it'd been that long since I picked it up, I couldn't remember what happened. So it was kind of fun going back and rereading it, almost like a reader reading it for the first time.
Yeah. Oh, I can't even imagine. I mean, I forget why I have breakfast some days, and I come to books, and I've read probably, I think, over 800 books now.
Wow, that's
I
incredible.
think. Yes. Over the years, I think it's gotten to 800. And I'll be reading a book that I read a year ago. I'm like, no, this sounds really familiar to me. Oh, wait, it's because I've read it already. And I
You've read
have
it
to go through
already.
the blurb and try to figure it out. And even then, I'm like, have I read it? And yes, I have. So it's so funny that it
Yeah,
happens to you with writing
that's
as
where
well.
things like Goodreads comes in handy because I'm like, oh yeah, I did. I read it 4 years ago, but it's been that long, I've completely forgotten that I've read it.
Yes. I need that, and I need to put notes on like the different tropes. Because you see all these content creators make these amazing videos where it's like, if you like this book, try this book, or here's 5 books with enemies to lovers trope. And I'm like, I'd love to do that, but I can't remember what happened in the books. I just
Yes.
can't. I wish I could. I wish I could state facts about them and do these amazing videos with recommendations, but I can't. Usually I have to go on Goodreads, look at lists of enemies to lovers because they have those lists on there, and then see which books I've read throughout that, and then I can create the video.
It's a good way of doing it though. Like
Yeah.
Goodreads is an amazing tool.
It is fantastic. That's the only reason why I know I've read that many books. And the Goodreads challenge as well. I've stopped actually giving myself a big number. Like, I'm going to read 100 books this year. It just, yes, if I do read it, amazing. If I don't want to know that I didn't read it.
Yeah, before I started writing, I think I could get through a book in a day. And I used to do the big goals, which is like
Yeah.
one of the big things that I recommend if anyone wants to become a writer is read a lot in the genre that you want to write. And I just read tons of urban fantasy in that year that I was leading up to writing. And then I started writing, and my goals went from 200 books a year down to less than 100 books a year.
I don't really have an excuse. It was just in college, it was locked down. And that's when I read 347. Not all of them were really
Amazing.
large. I think some of them were nice little short stories thrown in there, you know, just as little breathers and a palate cleanser, shall we
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I was
those,
going to say I call them palette cleansers.
yeah. And then some really long ones as well. Like, I think I read one that was 1,000 pages or something. So there's a big difference. But that was when I was locked down at college. I didn't want to do any work. I'm a massive procrastinator, so I did anything but do the work and yet somehow managed to finish it in the end. Who knows how? But now that I'm working more and I've done ski seasons for the past 2 years, and I just don't read much. I think I must, during the 4 months, I must have read 20 books max, I want to say. So
Yeah.
I've started reducing it, even though I'm somehow getting into more reading and trying to do more, but I've reduced the expectations now.
Audiobooks are my friend at the moment. I think it's the only way I get anything read.
Yeah, it is just so hard when you're juggling everything like life and a
Yeah.
newborn for you and then writing. It is definitely a lot.
Yeah, I'm hoping because I'm not working full time, I have a bit more time to read, but that has not happened yet.
No, I can imagine. Do you prefer reading or writing?
Ooh, that's a really hard question. I think it depends on my mood. I'm very much
Yeah.
a mood reader as well. So I will literally get halfway through a book and then be like, I'm going to start 7 different other books until I find what I actually want to read. And then I
Yeah.
will eventually finish them all. It's just, I have to be in the mood. And I think it's the same with my writing. If I get hooked on a story that is just like an almost like an earworm in my head where everything's like, I need to get it out.
Yeah.
I can sit down and during COVID, my husband had COVID and we were isolating, and I got a really good story in my head, and I literally wrote a book in about 10 days.
That's brilliant.
I'm never doing that again. It was very intense. But yeah, I think again, it depends on the kind of mood I'm in. At the moment,
Yeah.
I'm very much in a writing mood, which is a shame because I can listen to audiobooks at the moment with my newborn. But yeah, I don't have a lot of time to sit down and write. There's a couple of times I've attempted it and then I had to go change my 17th nappy of the hour. But yeah, I think it very much depends on my mood. I'm very much in a writing mood at the moment, so I'd say
Yeah.
writing. I prefer writing at the moment.
No, I get that. I'm such a mood reader as well. But I once read someone, I don't know if it was in a book and a character did this or I don't know, but somebody had like a creative battle of inspiration and wrote a full novel in a night, like from 10 o'clock until the morning. I'm like, I wish that would just happen. Like me just
Yeah.
have my brain turn on and be like, okay, let's do this. Because I've tried to write a little bit and I've had the odd creative bout of inspiration, but otherwise I've never really gone anywhere with it. So I just love to have my brain say, you know what, we're gonna write this book. We're gonna get it done. Hasn't happened
Yeah.
yet.
I think the most I've written in a day was about 8 hours, and it was 12,000 words, and it was literally 15-minute sprints. So I was doing 15-minute sprinting, 15-minute break, 15-minute sprinting, 15-minute break. And it's because I had to finish the book that day because I knew that I would not have time for and to meet my deadline unless I got it finished that
Yeah.
day. I like to leave things to the last minute, very much so. It's like I'm
Like
very
you.
much a crammer when it used to come to exams. I'd literally leave it to the day before and then just cram and revise the day before an exam. So yeah, I had to get it done that day, and just doing that with that structure and going and doing something else and giving my brain a break for that 15 minutes, that really
Yeah.
really helps. So highly recommend sprinting if you want to kind of get in the zone.
I'll have to give that a go, definitely. But I like to say I'm as good as you with the cramming it all in on that last day. I leave it to the last day. I remember with my A levels, the only revision I did was when it was forced to be done in class. The day of the exam, I'm like, okay, I'll leave all my revision to that day. I can't do it before. I can't. Open the book, read a paragraph, close the book. On the bus ride there, I skim read a few bits, and that was my revision. Somehow, I just managed to pull a B, and
That's awesome.
I
Well
was
done.
happy. That was even satisfying. I didn't want to go to university, and I think that was that mindset. I just didn't really
Oh,
phase me.
I had a friend who used to say that if you only really need a certain level with exams and things, and if you can pass it, anything above, any marks above, that's just a waste anyway.
Mm. I just don't think people care as much. Oh, I hope not anyway, because I mean, I got grades that I think are fine
B's really
for
good. B's really good.
employers, so I think that's fine. But I could not turn my brain on. I could not say, right, we actually have to settle down. And I'm doing my day skipper qualification now, so I'm doing my theory for it. And again, learning and having to do it without it being enforced, I just know it's gonna get to the time I have to finish it by the end of July. I have to take my exam by then. So if I fail, I can redo it before September. And my procrastination brain is kicking in, and
Yeah, so I tend to set myself really tight deadlines, and I put all my pre-orders up on Amazon, and I'm like, right, I have 3 months to write this book and get it
wow.
edited and released, and I'm like, right, well, that's what I'm going to have to do. And because it's forced, that's
Yeah.
how I end up doing it, because again, I'm very much a procrastinator.
It's so hard. I don't think people realize how hard it is. They're like, just do it. I'm like, I can't. My brain won't allow me to do it.
Yeah, it makes me laugh because at work I say to them, if you give me a 2 hour deadline, I'll get it done in 2 hours. If you give me a 10-day deadline, I will do it in 10 days.
Don't give me the big deadline. Don't need the big deadline. I need a very, very short one. Because that's the only way I'll force it. Or I get like really weird bouts of, I'll do it now. With like at the weirdest time when I probably should be doing something else. I think it's my way of avoiding that thing as well. Like I even procrastinate reading, which is ridiculous. I think it's just because I'm a mood reader, and that's kind of where it comes from as well.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah, I've spoken to a few authors who will say that their house is cleanest when they need to be writing, and their writing gets done when their house needs to be clean.
that is so relatable. I love that. It's like I was cooking and I was making onion bhajis, randomest thing, and that was when my inspiration hit. I don't know if it was because I was cutting up all these onions and it was just so tedious or whatever. And that's when I actually decided to write. I was like, Mum, I can't help you finish tea. I've got to write for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I did eventually finished off the onion bhajis after writing, and that was that. When I wasn't supposed to be doing it.
Yeah, it's usually when I'm driving, which is really annoying because it's not like you can just stop. I'm like
No.
driving to work. My commute's just under an hour, so I tend to come up with a lot of ideas and I put them into voice notes or memos. I really wish I could dictate. I know a few authors who will dictate into an app and then that's their writing for the day. but I just can't, because I can't articulate as fast as my brain works, but I
Yeah.
can type as fast as my brain works, which is
Yeah,
strange.
I'm a bit like that as well. But one author, she said, because it comes to her when she's driving, she'll say, "Hey Siri, send a text to my husband," and she'll write it down, and then she has to later say, "Don't worry, it's just for my book," because she'll be writing some really interesting thing, and her husband probably thinking, "What on earth are you on about?" And I just
I'm sure
love
he's
that.
used to it if she does it a lot.
Yeah, I just loved hearing that. That was hilarious for me. Can you please give us a brief overview of your books and where you think readers should start with?
So I really like interconnected series. So I tend to write in trilogies, and they'll all be standalone, so you can read them by themselves. I do have one series which is called Portals of Science and Magic, which is a 4-book series, and it should have been a 3-book series, but there was one character that would not stay quiet and ended up with her own book in the end. I like worlds that are interconnected, but ones that you can read by themselves. So
Yes.
it's kind of like leaving Easter eggs. So there'll be comments which kind of relate to another series, but you'll only know about it if you read the other series. And then it's kind of like, yeah, because that character's doing that in this series at the moment. And I do like crossovers, so kind of guest appearances of other characters, which is kind of cool. Essentially, I say start with Dealer's Choice because that has a lot of the world building for that series. And even though chronologically another series comes first, but you don't have to have read that before reading Dealer's Choice. I do, my PA Nicola, she did a graphic for me, which is the chronological order. If you ever want to read all of my books in the right order, then you can do. But yeah, I'd say start with Dealer's Choice, and then if you want, you can go back to the origin of Dealer's Choice, which is a novella called Dealer's Will, which goes back 500 years to where the siren in that series made her original deal with the devil. And then you can go on to Portals of Science and Magic, which is a bit of an older FMC. So she's in her 40s and works at MIT with a nuclear scientist, a physicist, who's trying to open a portal to another world and accidentally does so, but on purpose, and brings through a being from the Fey realm who they then have to try and get back into the Fey realm.
That sounds all really interesting and exciting.
Oh, thank you. My latest series is one of the characters from Dealer's Choice. And again, you can read it first because I've tried to be really clever with the spoilers so that you don't get too much spoiled.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite Greek myths is Artemis and Orion, which, if you don't know it, please do go look it up because I just absolutely love the story behind the constellation, because obviously Orion is a constellation. And I used to be able to see it on my way home from university when I was walking back and it was really dark, and I'd be like, he's the hunter and he's protector and things. And I'm like, well, as long as I can see
Yeah.
Orion, I'm safe to walk home. Kind of like one of those things you tell yourself.
Yeah.
But I love the myth behind the love story between Artemis and Orion, and that's kind of what the Star-Crossed series is based on. Very loosely, I like to put my own spin on everything. So yeah, those are the 3 main series that I have out at the moment, and then I have a series that I want to write later this year called Shadow Witch, and it's a little reader magnet that I wrote 4 years ago as a short story, never really intending. Well, I did intend to write it at some point, but that character's been very quiet and now she's being very loud.
Demanding to be written now.
Yeah, it's about time. I think there's a few readers who have been waiting for this story for a long time, so I promised that I'd get it done while I was on maternity leave.
Highly anticipated read then. That's all very exciting. Are you planning for any to be released by October, any new books? Or are you just keeping it steady and not?
Well, I haven't put the pre-order yet, although I'm thinking about seeing how the next few weeks go and then biting the bullet and actually putting the pre-orders up. But my aim is to have Shadow Witch, the first book in the series, released by September, the second book in October, and the third in November. And if I time it well, I should have all the paperbacks ready for Authors at the Armouries.
Nice.
So it'll kind of be a bit of an exclusive because the full series won't be out by then.
Oh, that'd be really amazing for anyone that goes. Be like, here you go, you're getting something exciting and people can't get it yet, so buy it, please.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, honestly, I personally love it when you can buy a book and it's not released yet. It's like, oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm planning next year to try and do the same. I like to give something a bit special when I'm doing signings. So Authors at the Armouries this year, it will be an exclusive in the fact that it won't be available anywhere else at the time, but it might later become available. So I'm doing a Gothic version omnibus of Dealer's Choice. So it'll be all 3 novels and 2 novellas in one big edition, which is going to be gothicy with sprayed edges and that kind of thing.
Sounds
Because
amazing.
I've been wanting to do one for ages. So yeah, that'll be a special edition that is just for authors at the Armouries, which I then might make available later on
Yeah.
through my store online. But
I love special editions, but they're terrible for my bank account.
mine too.
I'm hoping on the day I'm too busy to be spending too much, but knowing me, I'll somehow find a way.
You always do.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely broke until a book is available that I want, and then I somehow find the money.
yeah, somehow. And then later think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Hey ho, it's pretty and it's on my shelf.
Well, I always say you'll regret not doing something over doing something. So life's too short to have
Yeah,
regrets.
you don't, well, that's a bit morbid, but you don't leave with the money, so might as well spend it.
Yeah,
That's what people
exactly.
say. Obviously, it doesn't always work out that way, but let's keep that mentality.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's been absolutely lovely speaking to you today. Thank you for joining me on here, and I look forward to
Very
meeting
welcome.
you in October.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And again, pop by my table, and
I definitely will
I'd
be.
like to
I'll
meet
be
you in person.
running around trying to do little interviews here and there, so I'll be popping around to your table and saying hi in person and seeing your pretty
Amazing.
books.
Oh yeah, and baby's going to be there as well. She'll be
Really?
my littlest assistant, so you'll be able to say hi.
I
She'll be a few
definitely
months old
will.
at that point.
Adorable. I just love it. Anyway, see you later.
See ya.